Hi everyone, and today we've got Joe Cerletti. Is that how, if I said it right, your last name?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Okay, so we've got Joe Cerletti with us today, and you're an ET experiencer abductionee, and you research a lot as well, and you also have your show. Can you tell us a little bit about your show and what you're doing?
Yes, absolutely. I've had a lot of paranormal experiences throughout my life, and I've always been interested in like the shadow government and the military type of history type of stuff. So it kind of really blended in together really well. How my channel kind of formed because I had a lot of knowledge and history about how these shadow operatives work and the UFO thing. I've always been interested in that, so I just kind of blended two things that I've always been interested in. And the channel Zero Dark Radio on YouTube, it really focuses on mostly UFO stuff. And I talk to usually highly credible people, such as yourself. I've had John Lear on there. Um, yeah, just off the top of my head, that's really it. It really has to do a lot with conspiracy stuff and paranormal. And the channel's called Zero Dark Radio, and I'm all over social media.
Cool. We can put links to it at the end of the show as well. And you put it together really professionally. I love your little intro that you've got at the start leading into it. It's really cool.
Thank you.
Makes it get like that exciting feel to it.
Mhm.
And you've also had regressions. You've had one with Laurie. What's Laurie's last name?
Laurie McDonald.
Laurie McDonald, and you've also had one with me.
Yeah.
So that was looking into your ET abduction experiences. People can probably see more on that. There's the YouTube videos up of you actually being regressed as well. And we've both also been interviewed by Kerry from Project Camelot, Kerry Cassidy. So there's so much more that people can watch to learn a bit more about your story. Has there been many recent experiences that you've been having in terms of like ET contact?
Honestly, I've had a lot of, and I don't mean to damper the wonderful experience that Project Camelot was. I've had a lot of, what's the word for it? Lashback after doing that interview. I've obviously been put under some sort of surveillance, and there was about a week or two after the interview where I was basically electronically harassed and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't change anything for the world. And that Project Camelot interview changed my life. I'm sure it changed your life too.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't change anything really. But obviously, whatever I talked about was important enough that they got angry. I learned a few things too. One of the places that I mentioned in my Project Camelot interview was Lawrence Livermore Labs, which is like a secret laboratory here in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I learned that Sandia has a lab there. Now, for those who don't know what Sandia is, they're known for working on UFO technology, working alongside extraterrestrials, and constructing all the underground tunnels. So when I found out Sandia had a lab there in Livermore, that was it. That really blew my mind.
You're giving me goosebumps because as you and I were talking about before, going on the show today, we were talking about our computer that when we came back from the US and it kept getting a virus, no matter how many times we wiped it. Anyway, our internet provider traced it back and Pete was able to find out with him that the virus or whatever it was and where our information was all being re-uploaded, so that's why our internet was so slow, was coming from Sandia Labs, which is also where Pete talks about is the first atomic bomb coming from there too. So that's got interesting history, that place. Kind of funny that you mentioned it after, we had that happen with us, that connection there too.
I mean, just the idea of what the nuclear bomb is and the science behind making that back then and the fact that Sandia had a hand in it, I think it really is a very telling of what type of technology, science, and paranormal these people are working with.
Yeah. And have you looked much into the paranormal side of what's going on down there?
Yes, there was another really bizarre thing I learned. There's a really big mountain near here called Mount Diablo, and it's been here, well, forever, but it was called Mount Diablo a couple hundred years ago when the colonists that were settling here, the natives around here told of all these bizarre stories that went back forever. And a Spanish priest was at the top of the mountain one day, and he claimed to see the devil, which was probably an extraterrestrial of some sort, and he misidentified it, understandably for the time.
Yeah.
And ever since this Spanish priest had this experience, it's been called Mount Diablo. And if you go there and you take a tour of the place, they tell of a story one night hundreds of years ago. I think it was at least close to 100 people in this camp, natives and Spanish. They just disappeared, all of them, overnight without a trace, and there was never any explanation for what happened. So there's a lot of weird stuff that goes up on that mountain, and I found out days after my Project Camelot interview that there's a 40-mile-long wall of rocks that the natives built that runs from Mount Diablo, from right where I live, actually, right near the northern part of the water, all the way down to San Jose, 40 miles. And nobody knows how this wall was built with these gigantic stones. And not many people know about this wall, including myself, in the San Francisco Bay Area. And it runs from the mountain down to the southern Bay Area, 40 miles.
Oh, okay. And do you have many sacred sites? Like, do you know why the wall would be there? Was it, perhaps to do with, stopping invaders, or is it something that's more there to kind of work with the geopathic energy of the Earth?
I have two theories that kind of fit together. I think that it is it's like a consciousness grid. It's almost like that's how I would put it. It projects, it not only absorbs consciousness from the cosmos, but it projects it back up. And I've heard rumors that the Black Knight satellite runs right over this structure in a figure-8 motion over Earth, and it hits the pyramids, it hits other sacred sites over Earth, including this wall here in Mount Diablo.
That's interesting, especially with the disappearance of the people that you were talking about too.
Yes.
Because I have heard stories of, small communities vanishing, more by ET means. Yes, I wonder if there's something going on, whether there's a portal energy there. What did you physically sense when you were there?
At Mount Diablo?
Yeah.
It's a very weird place. I don't really know. It's obviously a very paranormal area. I don't really know how to explain it. It's almost like there's a paranormal fog over the place, a permanent paranormal fog, not only over the mountain but the local area.
Oh, okay. Would it be like the story with the Mist of Avalon, how there's the veil and beyond the mist is the other world? Do you feel or sense that it's some kind of other world or other dimension that you have access to when you're there?
I think that it's kind of like, it's not only when you're there, it's like in the local area, and it's like every place on Earth has one of these. Like you could call it a mountain. It's like it's a local mark. I can't think of the word that they call it, but every place has one of these landmarks.
Yeah.
Okay. And what they really are consciousness portals. And, if you're 50 to 100 miles within one of these things, you can connect to the energy of it.
So it's almost like an ET Wi-Fi that connects in with humanity.
Exactly. And you can also connect to any of them around Earth, but you'll get a stronger signal from the ones that are closer to you.
Yeah, and some of them do kind of like piggyback off each other, like Wi-Fi signals.
Yeah.
In that way. Yeah.
So this is all something that was channeled to me.
Yeah.
After the Project Camelot interview, and it's amazing because a lot of people are saying, that's true. And there's a lot of stuff that you can read about. So it's so interesting.
And I think there's a lot still to be discovered in the US too.
Yes. Like this, if you happen to be in the San Francisco Bay Area, Google search Mount Diablo mystery walls. That's what it's called.
Okay.
And I don't even know how I came across it, to be honest with you.
And have you seen anything to do with, I was checking out, Pete showed me some news and things that was happening to do with Mount Rainier, and I think it was Mount Hood, to do with volcanic activity. I think Alex Jones did like a little article on it, and it was talking about, if one of these volcanoes was to blow, that the ash could devastate, I think it was the San Francisco area. Have you heard much about this? Because you're kind of in that vicinity, aren't you?
Yeah, I have. I've heard about that.
What do you feel or sense with that?
I feel that that's just one of the many scenarios that our shadow government has planned, but it's not going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah.
Okay. But it could. I mean, they could at any moment do something like that, but I don't feel that's going to happen, and I don't think or worry about it. But to put it to you simply, they already have this planned, just like they have many disasters, terrorist attacks, governments being overthrown. All of this is already planned scenarios that are ready to, go out, that they're ready to roll out with.
Yeah. Yeah, that was it was interesting just hearing like the sheer size of it and what he says. But then I've also heard people say that, maybe he works for the other side as well. So it's hard to know. Oh. Yeah. So it's hard to know exactly, what to believe. I think that's why, it is good to use your intuition and tune in and see like what you feel, or, what feels like truth to you. And the other thing I think that can kind of, we can flow into from there is, what you do for work and helping people with medical cannabis. Did you want to talk a little bit about that?
I'd love to. Do you have any questions, or do you want me to just talk about it?
We've only just had our law for the state that we live in here in Victoria, in Australia. It was just passed not too long ago that they're going to allow medical cannabis trials. But
Congratulations.
What I've heard is that the type of cannabis that they're going to allow, that it might not be so beneficial. So I've heard that there is Afghan cannabis that is the one that truly heals and, works with cancer. But the one that we're supposedly allowed to have might kind of be just not as powerful, not as strong, that we might not get the results in this country that we hoped for. So I'm wondering if there's a bit of almost like a bit of a false flag in allowing us to trial that, because you could see if people were to trial that and it didn't work, and then they'd go back to more the pharmaceutical companies. So I'm wondering if there's something happening with that, going, well, you asked for it, here you go. But, so what's your take on that sort of thing?
I don't know, they're kind of wishy-washy, the global government, about cannabis right now. I mean, 2-3 years ago, it was still a straight hardcore no.
Yeah.
We will not legalize it. We're still going to continue the drug war. We're still going to do this. We're still going to do that. Obama was being wishy-washy because he promised that he would not do any raids here in the United States on medical marijuana facilities, but the DEA conducted more raids under Obama than Bush. Okay. And then what was your question?
Just with the stuff that they're going to be trialing here in Australia, whether it will actually be of any benefit, or whether it's going to be sort of, the only word that comes to mind is sort of like ho-hum, just whether it's going to be like slightly beneficial or help a little bit with pain, or whether it's actually going to be proactive in getting rid of and clearing up cancer. Because I feel like some of the true knowledge is still kept to the side, and they're allowing some of it to trickle out. Is that similar in the States?
Well, here in the States, I mean, it's like the last 3 years, maybe 5 years, there's been a huge awakening with marijuana. So many people they're well educated about it, basically. I don't know what the hell happened. Something happened for the good of marijuana here. As far as Australia goes, there's a lot of other countries that are doing that same thing. There's 2 types of cannabis, medical cannabis, that you can use. There's THC, which is basically, for those that don't know anything about marijuana, it's the compound in marijuana that gets you what people call stoned. It gives you the marijuana effect that marijuana is classically known for. And then there's CBD, which is a scientifically extracted form that you can rub on your body. You can vaporize and inhale it. You can drink it. You can take it in pill form, and that fights cancer, and it has no psychological effects to it, or psychoactive effects, I should say. So that means it has no stoned effects. You don't have anything going on in your cerebral area. You can just rub it on like a lotion. It's good for your skin. You can take it like a pill, and it'll fight your cancer. And then you can take super hardcore extracts of the CBD, which are rumored to knock cancer out of your body.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You get to work with some interesting stuff.
Yeah. Yes, I do.
It's fascinating. Even when you look at like the energy signature of the plant, you and I were looking at that video the other day and both posted it. That was the, or was it like a frequency music machine that was hooked up to one of the plants, and just the symphony that comes with it. But also, I don't know if you've seen like any of the Kirlian photography photos of a cannabis leaf and the energy concentrated within the leaf and coming off of it, because I think there's so much to be said with the energy and like medicinal properties when you look at all of the superfoods, and I consider that to be one of the superfoods. Their energy is like densely concentrated. It almost looks like ball lightning coming off some of the superfoods like buckwheat, goji berries. Just Google even Kirlian photography for anyone out there who wants to look at it. But yeah, if you look at a cannabis leaf with that, you can see that power and density and that magic that's contained within that plant. And I'm interested. I haven't tried in smoothies and things, but here in Australia, it's actually illegal to ingest or to eat marijuana. We have this silly thing in the health food shops and the supermarkets. If you buy hemp seeds, it says on the back, I think the only places in the world where it's banned from eating is New Zealand and Australia. So on the back of it, it's got like a bath recipe to make like a skin scrub out of the hemp seeds, and that everyone who buys it eats it. But it's like legally, you're not meant to be selling it for that. So yeah, there's ways and rules around that. But have you ever heard of anyone like juicing the leaf? Like, I'm really into raw food, and I'm looking at it from that point of view too. Like, if you were going to do, a lot of people do juice detoxes. So my grandfather had prostate cancer, and he got diagnosed with 3 months to live. This was going back long time ago when I was 3 years old. And he went on like a juice fast and grew all of his own organic veggies, and got an extra 10 years. And I'm just wondering if we add that leaf, that magical leaf, into the mix and juice it. Do you know much about like studies or anything that's been done with that, or people that you've experienced coming to work talk about that sort of stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. They don't really juice it. What they do is they get the oils off of the leaf, which is, from what I understand, an ancient Native American gift that was given to us by these beautiful people. But now with the recent advances in technology and science, we're basically able to get 99.9% pure CBD, which is that compound I was telling you about that fights cancer earlier. And then you're also basically able to get close to 95% pure THC, which is another, but these are oil forms.
Yeah.
So it's not like they juice the plant. They get the oils from the leaf, and then you can basically add that oil to anything. And the reason why the oil is important is because it's an extract and it's highly potent.
Cool. So more likely to add that to a smoothie or something rather than actually juice the leaf.
You can do that, and then you can also get the leaves. You can there's ways to put the leaves into butter, coconut oil. There's a bunch of different ways to put the leaf into juices and stuff like that as well.
And have you heard, I've heard like rumors going around in stories, people say that, that it's come from off-world. You were saying like that it was a gift, like with the American Indian people. Do you know like the story of the history of where it comes from? Do they talk about it coming from the stars, or is it always been here?
Yeah, I heard something weird about that a few weeks ago. I heard it came from Sirius. I don't remember how or where I read this, but there was some I think it was a native story or a settler story where the natives were explaining where the plant came from and who gave it to them and how the star was the seer. I don't know. It was weird.
I think they call it Kachina because
Mhm.
they talk about the return of, I'm probably not saying it right, Kachina,
Yeah.
the blue star prophecy.
That's right. That's right. That's correct. And people are probably wondering, well, how do they know what the Sirius star was 300 years ago? It's because they referred to it as the brightest star in the sky. And that's where they got this plant from. It was given to them by the extraterrestrials, but or they called them the star people, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, and I don't remember where I read this story. I've only read this once, but it was very interesting, and I've always had intuition that it was given to us by extraterrestrials.
Yeah. And it's got so many amazing properties, not just medicinally, but being able to absorb radiation. You know, there's a lot of people that say we should plant it near Fukushima to absorb some of that radiation and transmute it or transform it. And
I haven't heard that, but that's a very good idea. It's very interesting.
Yeah, so it's quite a cleansing thing in that way. Not only it's so productive, with making paper and clothing. There's so many uses, making ropes. There's so many things that it can be used for, and not only that, like the growth cycle of it too, being so much faster than trees.
Yeah, you're very well educated. I'm impressed. Very good for you.
Slightly.
Well, obviously, more than the average person.
So what's like the best story that you've seen with someone benefiting, in your place of work, or, hearing about it? What's the best benefits that you've heard, or the best magical transformation story that it's made in someone's life?
I'm not going to name any names, okay?
Yeah.
But let me just, how can I put it to you this way? I don't even know if I should tell this story. Let me just say someone that you probably know, okay?
Okay.
Someone you probably know, okay, uses it on the regular that you would never expect, okay? And they say that it makes them feel human again. And that's the most common thing I hear with people is it makes me feel human again because people are so tired of spending tens of thousands of dollars on medicines that are making them feel like robots. Okay, they can't live normal, healthy lives. It's just terrible, okay? And these people have dealt with that, added with the stress of having to deal with cancer and being diagnosed with it, and then fighting it for however long they've been fighting it, and then to finally be able to get the gift of feeling normal again or like you did in your teenage years. Because a lot of these people smoked cannabis back in the 1960s, 70s. That are becoming seniors now.
Yeah.
So they're a little more open to it than perhaps the previous generation would have been. So I think that there's a big tidal wave coming that can't be stopped worldwide with cannabis. But that's the most common thing I hear is it makes me feel human again. And I should remind everyone, it's not a drug, it's a plant.
Yeah.
And that's why people feel human again. It has an earthy feel to it.
That's interesting looking at it that way too. And looking at the consciousness of the plant. When we look at things like ayahuasca and other, plants that have a consciousness and have an interaction, not just on the human psyche, but within the human, like, physical, energetic field. Do you get, like, a sense of what that consciousness is like?
You mean of cannabis?
Yeah, with the cannabis plant. Yeah.
It's, like I said, it's extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's almost like it has like an intelligence of its own. It has like a spirit of its own. I mean, I can't really explain it. It's just, that's what I'm getting from it.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it, looking at it from like all of those points of view. And because I think that I feel that the plants that are really medicinal, do have some kind of, like, as you said, like ET kind of spirit consciousness aspect to it. And what's interesting is that sometimes if those plants aren't available to you, you can actually meditate and connect in and tune in with the energies and get gifted some information and some benefits that way. So for people that aren't able to experience it in their country yet, that's a way that they can kind of tap into that consciousness network.
You're actually 100%. That's actually really true. I've had people tell me before, and as an insult too, but I didn't take insult to it. Whenever I would quit cannabis for long periods of time, like way back in the day. For example, when I was trying to become a 911 dispatcher, I wasn't smoking weed during all this time. I would have friends tell me, "Dude, you look like you just smoked or something," and it would be because I was literally just thinking about it, almost meditating on it. And I remember thinking, wow, it's like if you meditate, you can get the energy from the plant.
Yeah.
So there is definitely something to what you just mentioned.
And what's interesting, if we go back to like the old day too, and that's fascinating that you found that same sort of like experience with that. And if we go back to the way that we worked with more like medicinal law and herbs and things, or you guys call them herbs over there, you know, back in the day, it very much was something that was connected to our psyche. You know, it wasn't just, you know, we go and eat something and we die. We actually would sense and tune into the energy of the plant and communicate with the plant or with the diva of the plant and find out what its, you know, benefits were. And I think with what's happening with the shift that's happening with medicine and with drug companies and things at the moment is we are going more to the wellness industry. We are going more for like the high energy raw foods, superfoods, super herbs. And I think David Wolf, he is amazing for what he talks about with the benefits of, you know, all of those things. And I think that that's something that people can pick up. They can see that with the energy. And if you look at people that represent the pharmaceutical companies, they don't really have that picture of wellness. And
no, not at all.
What's interesting here in Australia too is that we have, you know, me being a kinesiologist as well as a hypnotherapist, there's certain laws that we have in what we can say the benefits are from natural therapies. We're very restricted. We are allowed to use the word wellness. If we look at the root of what wellness represents, it's a healthy, dynamic state of balance. So if anything comes in and sort of throws that balance off, we get sickness. So we are part of the wellness industry. The word wellness needs to be looked at and connected with, you know, the cannabis industry too, and what kind of new magic this is bringing.
Correct. The cannabis industry, there's almost like a cover-up with the cannabis industry right now. Just kind of like what you were mentioning with the hypnosis thing. But people are being arrested in the cannabis industry every day, okay?
Okay.
Because it's not entirely federally legal here. So if one guy gets too big, the federal government comes in and they ruin his life. Okay, that's just what's been happening, and it's such a tragedy. Such a tragedy. These are all great people too. These are not young kids like me. I'm probably one of the only young kids that, you know, works in the industry and is doing my own thing. But most of the people that not many people know this. Most of the people that started the cannabis industry were from the San Francisco area, and most of them have passed away now since 1996, which is when it started here. Almost all of them have passed away from cancer or AIDS. So these are not drug dealer types.
Yeah.
These are the most open-hearted, loving people that in the world that started this and are trying to share this with the world. And meanwhile, the federal government is kicking their boots, you know, kicking doors down, shooting animals, traumatizing families, you name it. So that's kind of what's been going on. It's a tragedy, but I think that there's a worldwide awakening happening right now, and it just can't be stopped.
I was just thinking the same thing. We need to, you know, spread this knowledge and people to do their own research, not believe what they're told by, you know, some of these bigger presences, and really find what is working, what's working for others, you know, what may work for them.
Correct. And there's a reason why I came forward with working in the medical cannabis industry. Um, there's a big tidal wave happening, and it's no coincidence that I came forward and publicly told everybody that I work in this industry. It's because you're going to be seeing a lot more of it on the news worldwide soon. And if you live in other countries, I suggest you start talking about it with your friends. You start writing your politicians and say, hey, look at what California's doing. Look at what Colorado's doing. That's all you really have to do. I mean, you know.
Yeah, and that's good advice because people will be wondering, what they can do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, it's a good option because it does help a lot of people that have terminal illness.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, it can provide them and make them feel human again, as you said.
If I could give you're absolutely right. If you live in a medical marijuana state in the United States, just look up on Google medical marijuana laws for your state and see if your state has these options for you. If you're in California, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, it should be readily available.
Yeah, we were surprised when we went over to Portland and to Colorado too on our trip last year that there was like pipes and things sold at the service station.
At the service station? What do you mean the service station? The gas station?
Gas station, yeah. We have different words for everything. Yeah, we were surprised that they had, might have been synthetic cannabis as well, I think Pete said.
Oh, avoid that stuff at all costs.
I think anything that's not natural should probably be avoided at all costs.
I've seen that do serious harm to people.
I've heard the same.
It's extremely toxic. So avoid synthetic cannabis at all costs.
That's good for people to know.
You may be wondering, go ahead, what was that?
Oh no, it's just good for people to know. And I think we should stick close to nature anyway.
Yeah. And you may be wondering, well, how do I avoid synthetic marijuana? It's really easy to spot. It's sold in tinfoil bags, and it's usually labeled spice or something like that. It smells like garbage. It looks like little broken down old leaves. It's really easy to spot. You don't have, and I highly recommend avoiding it at all costs. It's extremely toxic. Smoking this stuff for like a week or 2 weeks would do permanent damage to you. That's how toxic it is. So, it's designed in labs. They're constantly changing the chemical, what do they call it? I don't know anything about
composition, I guess.
I have a GED education here. They are constantly changing the chemistry because we're trying to ban the stuff, but these guys are changing the chemistry of it so that it's like legal again.
Yeah.
So it's literally becoming more and more toxic. So that's my take on synthetic cannabis, and I have seen it do serious harm to people. Okay. And it's not grown in the ground; it's designed in a lab.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a party drug a little bit.
Yeah, it's like it's a toxic poison. Yeah.
And also looking at like the energy to do with what we were talking about before, like with the cannabis leaf, how they can, have such beautiful luminant energies when you look at it with curling photography. And if we're ingesting that, we're kind of taking that into our body. Some people talk about, with people smoking it, that perhaps it can tear holes in the aura, which I have seen with people that have, totally abused it in the past, and that they can get sort of negative entities and things kind of cling on. Is there a way that you feel is like the best way to have it?
It's different. God, it's just different for everybody, and it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Some people are just, what's the word I'm looking for? They already had those holes in their aura, so perhaps the weed just made it a little bigger.
And sometimes it's to do with the mindset and what's sort of going on mental wave-wise.
Exactly. So, but for some people it's great. For some people it doesn't do harm to them, but it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's just not really for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people will have a sense if that's, you know, for them or, you know, not such a good thing for them. So coming around back to like the ET side of things too, have you been having any more contact with your guide? Do I pronounce it? Is it Ely?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you been having more communication or contact with her?
Honestly, since the Project Camelot interview, I've been like I said, there's been like a huge, it was almost like I was under psychic attack. I'm telling you, like for weeks.
Yeah.
So, most of my psychic energies have been projected down here on Earth. For example, right now, I think we forgot to talk about this. I'm trying to make contact right now with the CIA agent woman who tracked Osama bin Laden to Abbottabad, Pakistan, and she was portrayed in the movie Zero Dark 30. And that's just one example of the energies I'm projecting here on Earth instead of up into space right now. I don't know why. It was almost like there was a shift that happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's so much stuff going on Earth. Ely's kind of guiding me right now.
Yeah.
I'm not really communicating with her. I get the occasional download. But you know what? 2 nights ago, I had a missing time experience. And it was extremely bizarre. And it lasted about 4 hours. And this is the only missing time. Yeah. And this is the only missing time experience I've had since that one that was like 10 years ago almost. No one was with me this time though. So I have, you know, there's really nothing I can bring forward for proof.
Is there any sort of feeling or sense that you got with the missing time or any information you feel you brought back with you?
Well, you know, I'm still really confused because I think, as bizarre as this sounds, I think I may have been sprayed by some sort of aerosol type of thing, and it may have been human. It may have been done by humans. I mean, I'm still a little confused by it, and I'm still shocked by it. I haven't meditated on it because it really did happen, and it's I'm still trying to deal with it. Basically, what happened was I was sitting here on the very spot I'm talking to right now. It was daylight. It was probably close to this time, as a matter of fact, 4:45. Right now the time's 4:55. It was literally like I blinked, and it was nighttime. It was 6 hours later. I had tons of missed calls. I should also mention it was in the middle of a work day, which I never fall asleep. Ever. Once ever has it happened. Let alone have I missed calls like that.
Yeah.
Falling asleep and missed calls. I'll wake up if there's missed calls and stuff. So all this stuff happened. I woke up. I felt super God, it was so weird. I don't know. Groggy, foggy, drained, almost like I had memories kind of just freshly taken from me.
Yeah.
And and then ever since this happened, I've been having a lot of trouble sleeping. This was about 2 nights ago.
Okay.
And my window was wide open. When this thing happened, it was just barely cracked open, like it is right now.
Yeah.
Like it always is. So I wake up, my blanket is basically ripped off the bed. I was sitting on it like this, sitting on my bed. The blanket was ripped off, and the window was wide open.
Okay. That's really strange, isn't it? All of those things tied together, especially with the missed calls too.
Yeah. The missed calls were work calls, people trying to get a hold of me.
Yeah.
So, that was it. I don't have any answers right now.
Do you feel it was more a government thing? You were saying you felt it was more human?
It could be because only days before I attempted to make contact with the CIA agent who tracked bin Laden. So it could be related to that, and it could be extraterrestrial. I'm sure we'll focus on it because we're going to have a hypnosis session here at ESETI And soon here we'll have more hypnosis sessions. I've been so busy with work. I work every day of the week almost here in the cannabis industry. So, and hopefully here in a few months I'll have way more time to do way more hypnosis sessions and do more stuff on my channel. But E-SETI is going to be a lot of fun, and this will be something we'll get answers on.
Yeah. And I can't wait. It's the first time we're going to meet in person. It's only a few weeks away now. What are you expecting to happen, like, when you go out to E-SETI? Because everyone usually has their kind of, like, expectations or what they'll think that it feels like with going there. Have you got things that you feel that'll happen for you?
I'm just expecting to camp and to meditate and stuff. I'm not. I already know I'm going to see craft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're going to see orbs, elementals. You'll get like a whole mixed bag of stuff when you go there.
Yeah.
But there is something really different when you meditate there, because I'm not so good at making myself meditate. I'll do like a little bit here and there. But when I was going there, I was getting called into the meditation room sometimes like for 2 hours at a time. And I was seeing craft coming through the third eye that were in more high definition than what you see like here physically looking around the room. So some pretty intense experiences can really go down there. It tends to connect a lot of dots or bring up new questions.
Yeah, I already know that that's going to happen. I see this as like it's almost going to be like a marker for a moving forward kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's going to be cool just to meet you in person too. It's funny, like when we first started chatting just online, you've got that brother feeling to me. So it's like, oh, there's another brother. There's another star brother.
That's awesome.
So it's going to be cool to meditate together when we're there and maybe get some more information on that too.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. I also feel, because I don't, like I said, I have so much trouble explaining this to friends and family. I literally work I work 7 days a week, almost 12 hours a day. I think that this trip is going to propel me to more travel, and it's going to open up like a doorway to that for me, so that's another thing I'm looking forward to.
It definitely did that for me when I went there.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was part of that, getting over that block of going on that sense of adventure. For me, it was actually the first time that I'd been overseas.
Wow, cool.
So a massive, massive hurdle. And the same for Pete too.
How was customs coming through? I'm curious for an Australian.
It was interesting. It was actually really funny. So we have to do like the whole eye scan thing. Do you guys do that too? It's only going international, I think.
No, that's ridiculous.
So we're like, oh my God. Weird thing was, like, you get off the plane, you're coming down the escalators, and there's like the presidential photos and things, and there's like the military call to let the military onto the aircraft first. We don't have any of that here. It's actually really different. The other thing that was funny going through customs is like Pete and I are like a little bit paranoid going, just because, having YouTube and things like that out there, and, kind of the topics we talk about and what we take photographs of, that sort of thing. And Pete gets through, he's like about to do the eye scan and everything. The guy's like, oh, what do you do? And he goes, oh, I write books on UFOs and, take photos and things. I'm like, oh, no, don't. Thinking, great, now we're going to be like held up. And the guy's like, oh, cool. Hey, do you perhaps think that some of the ETs are from the future? Like, that was what one of the custom officers said to him.
Do you think the guy was an alien, maybe? Did you get that feeling from him?
I just thought, I think that's good timing that everything happened the way it did, whether he'd been placed there, specifically for Pete to go through. But it's like, you just want to go through, you just want to be in and out. And luckily it all went smoothly. Hoping for another smooth transition when we go through again this time.
It doesn't take a long time. I mean, like it wasn't a...
No, it was actually pretty fast. It was more coming back to Australia. I think we were waiting to go back through customs for, I think it was like over an hour to come back through. So home was much worse.
Yeah.
But everyone was so super friendly. over in the States. We just loved it. We had the best experience. Everyone was so kind and courteous.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. And what are your plans with everything? Like after you feel like ESETI is going to be like the next kind of level for then something new to come forward. Do you get a sense of what that new thing is or where this will be taking you?
Yeah, international travel and state travel.
And
specifically, like, I know Australia will probably happen like within a year of that.
Yeah.
That's the feeling I get. I don't know. Close to that. I mean, it's like that's going to be the marker for this whole door to open of travel again, you know.
We'll have to get you working on your Australian accent when we're at the ranch. We'll teach you a few Aussie words.
I'm actually pretty good. I've been watching a show called The Straits. I think I told Pete about it. That's an awesome show.
Yeah, as long as you can say "G'day, mate." We had James Gilliland speaking pretty fluent Australian when he left.
Yeah, I think you'll be impressed. I don't want to do it here on YouTube, but I'll do it at ESETI. You'll see. You'll see.
I might secretly film that.
Yeah, cool. Go for it.
I've been practicing my American ready to come back over. Like you guys say squirrel, and we say squirrel. Like little things like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, getting used to speaking American again. And is there anything else that you want to talk about, like work-wise, or what direction your channel's going in? Because I know you said that you've just found a new editor. What's happening with your channel at the moment?
He is building a UFO montage video.
Cool.
I haven't really gotten any updates from him, but I think he's just going to send it to me when he's done.
Awesome. And have you got any guests planned or anything like that you're getting excited about?
I haven't planned guests for months now, just because I haven't had an editor, and I want to have my guests look as professional, you know, as possible on the channel.
Yeah.
So as soon as if this UFO montage video pans out, I'm gonna immediately start doing interviews again.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
And you're the one that you've already got up to was really good. The one with John Lear, that was really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a few with Lear up there.
Yeah. And have you guys been in contact, like, after that's happened?
After which happened?
Or after you did the interview with him?
I haven't been in contact with... I talked more to his grandson and to his wife for the past few weeks, for the past few months, really. But... during this whole 911 dispatcher thing, which is like when I found out about the Zodiac killer stuff and all that crazy stuff, I was in contact with Lear almost on a weekly basis, and he taught me almost, you know, a lot of the stuff I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And interesting timing. Just the way that everything happened. If people want to find out more about that experience, probably best to check out your Project Camelot show that you did with Carrie Cassidy, because you go into that a bit deeper and find out like how your family, like your biological family's, you know, kind of working with that case.
Yeah, my great uncle was the highest ranking detective on the scene and one of the first guys on the scene at one of the murder sites of the Zodiac killer up here in Vallejo. And it's just a really weird story. And he had a suspect, a really prime suspect that, for those who don't know anything about Zodiac, and I didn't even mention this in the Project Camelot interview, but Zodiac used to write codes to the police and to the press, and he would say, "Oh, you're never going to catch me," and blah, 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 blah. He would taunt people, and he would write these codes. Some of the codes still haven't been broken.
Okay.
My uncle's suspect had code training in World War II by the Navy. And my uncle wanted to put this guy under surveillance, and the FBI was like, "Oh, we already got him under surveillance." The Navy's watching him, the Department of Naval Intelligence has him under surveillance, and we have him under surveillance, but we can't tell you anything more. But anyways, my uncle brings this guy in for questioning anyways, And whatever happened in that interview happened, and he got called into the judge's chambers within an hour or so by the district attorney, and he told him to drop the case and to burn all his files and to never mention this guy's name again. And it was just this whole deep, dark conspiracy, and all of my relatives that still live in the Vallejo area, and some of them have moved out, they were harassed by the suspect, late phone calls at night, a car following them, which was the Zodiac guy. It's just so weird. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting looking at the family history and, what happens within our own family trees.
Yeah. Why is this important? It's important because, like the family tree you were just mentioning, this great uncle of mine, he's almost doing the same thing I do. He's on a ghost hunt. He's hunting for ghosts while people are saying, no, stop. Just don't do that. Back off, back off, back off. So I found that extremely interesting. And it's worth noting that there was never a Zodiac arrested. There was never an arrest made. And my uncle believed he had the right guy. And I was able to make contact with a cop that worked on the case with my uncle. Around the same time, I made contact with John Lear.
Yeah.
And he wrote a book on my uncle's case called Zodiac Killer Cover-Up. And it was by Lyndon Lafferty. That's the cop's name that worked on it. And he recently passed away. He was a really great man, very, very nice. Told me so much great information about my uncle, and it was really a blessing to get this because he knew my uncle so personally,
Yeah, that's good. It sort of brings a bit more completion to that story too, having sort of that firsthand. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And where do you feel like with the ET experiences and things, when you get like more time, is there something that you feel like they're working with you to bring about or to assist you with?
I've always felt that because I've had a couple near-death experiences, some really, really close calls. One of them was an overdose. One of them was an infection. And the other one was being robbed at gunpoint in Oakland, having a gun put to my head by a 13-year-old kid.
Wow.
So I've had a lot of weird, finger on the trigger moments of life and death where I have no control.
Yeah.
Where this is presented in my face, okay? And I've always asked, why am I still here? That was so close. I should not be here right now. Okay? And I always knew in my gut, well, it's because you have a purpose. It's because you have a purpose. And here we are 5 years later after I'm off hard drugs and all that stuff, and the purpose is clear to me now. It's to spread truth to people and to not only investigate myself and bring light to the darkness in me, but to bring light and information to the people of the world too.
Yeah, which is good that you've got your channel on
Yes.
YouTube bringing that out.
Yes, exactly. That's right. And I've been very blessed to have people such as yourself and support me in my message.
Yeah. Well, I think you've got an interesting message to get out there, and I think, there needs to be more young people, talking about this stuff and looking into it, because some of that generation, we just lost Edgar Mitchell this year as well. Some of that older generation that is talking about the ET UFO side of things, they are starting to get older. We need to keep educating and bringing new information to the younger lot too, so that we don't lose this knowledge and the things that the other people have worked so hard for. Do you feel like you're part of this, bringing this message about?
Yeah, I feel that we are. Everybody that I've been in contact with, as of late, there's a Carrie Cassidy used the word synchronicity, I believe.
Yeah.
There's a synchronicity here. I don't know if we all hang out on ships or something while we're asleep.
Probably.
But yeah. I think that's what's going on here. We're all hanging out on ships at night, and we don't even realize it.
Yeah. And I think what sort of confirms that for me too is there's a few people in the online community that, we can talk about this sort of stuff, and it's like that we already know each other in some way or another. There is that ease and that comfortable feeling that you don't usually get with talking with strangers online, where it does kind of just flow, and it's like, yep, I know you, or I recognize you. There is like that little flag that goes up.
It doesn't happen with everybody either.
Yeah,
as a matter of fact, it's rare. It's extremely rare, actually. It is. Okay, there's a very small group that this occurs with. It will grow, though. Because more people are awakening, and we all have this inner starseed in us. We do. We really do. Yeah. One way or another, it's there, waiting to be burrowed, to be dug up. It's been suppressed for some people hundreds or thousands of years worth of past lives of forgetting about this stuff and what they're here for. Because I think some people have been recycled here on Earth so many times. I don't know. Yeah. So we've got a few starseeds coming in and infusing and injecting some new energy into that mix. So no wonder why it's interesting times that we live in. Very interesting. And part of my show as well, I love to get not only just the female perspective, because I do have male guests like yourself as well, but I like to get a view on like where people feel that we're heading for future, like where humanity's heading, where the Earth is heading. What's your kind of feel or sense with that? Well, again, I don't mean to damper the mood here. I really don't. I really, really don't. But there is a major clash of energies coming, and I can just assure you it's not going to be pleasant. If you watch my interview with Carrie Cassidy, there was a thing I said where she's like, what do you see happening in the future? Almost everything I said has happened other than what's going on in America, something going on here in America. There's a lot of ISIS stuff going down that's super scary. There's a lot of war stuff going on in Syria that is spreading across borders internationally, not only here in the United States, because the Syrian people are some of the most beautiful, loving people on the planet, as a matter of fact. They are known for this, okay? But there is a hardcore group of thugs, criminals, and killers that have flocked to Syria, and they're driving out a very traumatized people that are being forced into situations where they have to fend for themselves. And it's unleashing a whole crime wave, and tragedies are, I don't even know how to put this into words. I'm just picking up what I'm feeling here. These Syrians are having to fend for themselves, the good ones, okay? And I don't blame them, because they're being forced into the situation, and they're just trying to survive. Yeah. And they're just doing what they have to do because no one else is helping them. And criminals have hijacked their country. They have nowhere else to go. And all this stuff is being thrown in across the borders here internationally. And then we have North Korea. They recently launched a satellite into space that has the capabilities to strike Earth or some weird thing like that. That's another thing without borders, which screams conspiracy and globalism and warfare, military-industrial complex stuff. So the globalists are throwing everything they can across the world right now at humanity.
So it's, tough times.
Very tough times. But the reason they're doing this is because we're almost over the target. Humanity. We're almost to our destination. There was a saying in World War II, you receive the most flack right when you're almost over the target. So we're close. I mean, like we were talking about earlier, we're about to legalize cannabis. I mean, there's tons of cool stuff going on. If I were to give any of you guys recommendations, would be avoid the news, because the news has been totally overrun now with negative stuff. I mean, Facebook has been hijacked.
Yeah.
Have you noticed all the fake articles everywhere and people are buying into it? They're throwing everything they can at us right now.
And a lot of fake trolls and things too. You know, like David Wilcock and Corey Good talk about.
Really?
Yeah. Just, Corey Good talks about, that there's people designed to set up and attack and break down people's character online. And you see a lot of that stuff happen. And that's why it is important to kind of, sit back from things a little bit, reassess things, because these people are specially trained to do this.
That's right.
But
that's 100% right.
And what you were saying about the Syrian people too, just the connection with the Star series too. And some people talk about that perhaps they came from there. You could see why they would be quite gentle, caring people too. Yeah. So it's really sad what's happening with them. And I think anyone in that situation, if their lives are being, destroyed, and their families, they need to stand up and protect themselves. I think that goes for anywhere in the world that's having something like that happen.
Yes. But don't forget, there's no need to feel hopeless. There really isn't. They want to make you feel hopeless, but that's just a lie. That's just another lie that they're spewing, that the machine is spewing. So don't feel hopeless. I mean, if it's part of your process, feeling hopeless for a day, feel hopeless for a day. But then just go out and live your life, make new opportunities for yourself, because that's what they don't want you to do.
Yeah.
So,
and part of that is, communicating, not just about this, but communicating at a real level with people, getting your head out of like technology, having real communication, because, we're all getting kind of segregated and brought back to that, don't look this way, don't look that way. It's getting Facebook sometimes can be almost a little bit like high school, is the way that some people talk about it. Like you have to fit into a certain group, which in high school, luckily, I was never, I could float between whatever group I wanted to. Like that was never an issue for me.
Yeah.
And, if you are being yourself and you're being 100% authentic to you, you can go in and talk to like all these different groups and that. So if everyone starts being authentic within themselves, I think we can create a new planet in that way.
Absolutely. What you just said could save the world.
That and planting more trees, getting rid of the crap out of our food and our water, putting new people in charge that actually want to benefit the planet and society and health. Get rid of all of the unnatural crap. We need to get back to a natural planet.
Yeah, that's another thing I see happening is the push for unnatural stuff, including the weed that we were talking about earlier. Yeah. That's a small little thing in there. People are turning more and more robotic.
Yeah.
Like, they're just turning into, like, machines. It's just so sad.
It's the AI stuff, isn't it?
There's a heavy push for it. I'm convinced some people here on Earth have no soul, like they're like alien greys that are, do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
That kind of that are born here and they're kind of robotic.
Yeah.
They're programmed.
Yeah.
They're programs.
And you generally get a sense, just something within you senses that when you see them. I've been, I wouldn't say lucky, but I've seen one of the black-eyed children that people talk about.
Wow.
Which happened in a local Kmart. I don't know if you guys have Kmart there. It's kind of like a smaller Walmart.
That's an American thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. But we have Kmart here. We don't have Walmart. But yeah, I actually felt his energy before he tore around the corner. It was something like about 13 years old. But there was this unnerving kind of energy that tore around the corner before he got there, which I guess you would say is sort of like his energetic aura or something coming into mine before he tore around the corner. And just this feeling of like unnerved, and feeling like something really, really wrong within that, which you don't get with kids. Like there usually is kind of like a pureness that you get with kids. But yeah, that was a weird experience.
That's amazing. I've never heard that story, and I'm super interested in the black-eyed kids.
Yeah, so my oldest daughter was there. This was going back maybe, it could have been about 5 years ago now. I had my oldest daughter with me, and I'm like, did you just see that? And yeah, she saw him too. Really white skin, jet black hair, and jet black eyes.
Did you share the story with David Weatherly?
No, I don't think so.
Do you know who that is?
No. I've seen the name, but yeah, I haven't communicated that I'm aware of. There's a lot of people on Facebook and things, so it's hard to keep track of everybody.
He's a cool dude. He wrote the book on black-eyed. He wrote a really good book on black-eyed kids called The Black-Eyed Children. I think it's like the only book out there about black-eyed kids.
Was he perhaps on Coast to Coast?
Yeah.
I think I did. That's probably where I heard the name.
Yeah, if you ever get bored one day, you should just share that story with him. I'm sure he would really appreciate it. I've never had a black-eyed kids sighting. I can't say I wish I did, but I have had a Men in Black experience. I forgot to tell on the Carrie Cassidy show. I was in the middle of telling it, and I forgot it. But basically, what happened was I was working. I used to work for two different people before what I do now in the medical cannabis industry, and weird situations happened where I had to quit the first job. I'm with my new boss. He's waiting for me outside my house. I go out. I look around. There's no. The whole street was almost like empty, which is odd because there's usually lots of cars parked on the street. And it was like there was like a 20-foot stretch where there was no cars parked. I hop in the car and he's just looking in his rearview mirror like, "Do you know that guy?" I was like, "What?" And I look in the rear view, and there's a white, what was it? It looked like a Lincoln Town Car. A white Lincoln Town Car. It wasn't black, it was white, and it had no plates on it. And there was a guy with sunglasses, and it was just like really, it was like his face was kind of foggy. It was just, It was like if you looked at someone and you were super fearful, and you can't get a good look at him because you're so terrified.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like your adrenaline's pumping, and it's like you can't pick up everything. That was kind of what it was like. It was like his face was all foggy, and I was like, no, how the heck? This car appeared out of nowhere. It was not there. Not there the split second before. My boss is like, "I've been here for 3 minutes, and this guy's just been staring at me. I'm getting a super weird feeling from him."
Yeah.
And it was almost like there was this, I want to say there was a feeling of missing time, but I can't be for sure. Guy just slowly drives by, and he kind of looks at us like this, and he had the sunglasses, and it was like his face was all foggy. It was really hard, shadowy. It was really hard to get a look, and then he just made a turn around the corner real slow, and that was it.
Yeah.
And a lot of bad luck stuff happened before and shortly after that.
Oh, okay. Do you feel like you said there was maybe missing time with that? I'm just wondering, I'm just hearing like something about like in the future. Do you feel like that perhaps like the future version of you had been watched and they were coming back to try and perhaps change things or slow you down on your path or something?
Yeah, absolutely. That would make sense because that was like, oh God, that's actually really interesting. That was right around the time I was making the intro to Zero Dark Radio that you mentioned that you liked. And when I first started all that stuff, it was the week after my first John Lear interview was posted. It was right when I was going to plan my hypnosis session. It was like right around that time I was going to start planning for it. Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah. Well, we just ran out of time. We've actually gone over today. But Yeah, I'd love to have you back on because I'm sure we're going to have even more to talk about after we come back from ESETI. So if you want, we can do a show after ESETI. So we're just going to wrap it up here. So for more information, please check out Joe's social media pages. So it's Joe Cerletti. And also you've got Zero Dark 30. Have I said that correctly?
Zero Dark Radio.
Zero Dark Radio. So thank you so much for coming on today. And I'll put links at the bottom of the show too.
Thank you so much for having me, Sol. Look forward to seeing you at ESETI.
Yeah, not long now. See ya.
Bye-bye.